So yesterday, I spent a little time with somebody before we started working because we had worked with a horse once before, one of my horses, and the session that we did, unfortunately for me, um, kind of hit me at a spot that I need to like say something. Somebody had come with the intention of learning from me, learning what I do, not necessarily like learning from scratch, like about horsemanship. It just was looking to learn how I do it. But spent some time, I'd say 3 times in the arena, twice even after the horse was put away. That's not how I do it. You do it different than I do it. We do things different, just variations of I don't do it that way. And I have a tendency to spend a little bit of time sitting with myself, trying to find the most couth way to say something. So I spent a little time. I think probably 2, maybe even 3 weeks before I had another opportunity to talk in person with this person. And I said, listen, there's something very exhausting about trying to teach somebody who wants to just tell you that, well, your way isn't my way. Okay, you know, and that's fine. It's fine. I'm not trying to teach you like you don't know anything. I'm trying to show you how I do it, right? And that's why you came here, right? If the way you do it is the only way you want to ever do it, then you shouldn't have been here, right? Even if you don't want to incorporate what you learned here, you need to come here planning to learn what I do. Otherwise, you really just came here to either show me what you do or you just felt the need to argue with somebody that day in a roundabout way. It's not that it was like an argument. There's no argument. It's just it was like an argument for your limitations kind of thing. It's like, well, that's not how I do it, kind of thing. And I really do believe that's a waste of each other's time, right? That we would spend any time having conversations like that. So a couple weeks went by before I saw her again. And when I did, I took the opportunity to say, listen, you know, I don't think that we would have a very long, successful relationship if we spent all the time, um, talking about how I do it is different than how you do it, and the reason that you weren't, able to do whatever with my horse was because, well, I do things different, whatever, whatever. And I really wouldn't find much value for myself grooming that kind of relationship, right? It wouldn't be the kind of relationship that I would want to spend a whole lot of time trying to develop, right? It just wouldn't be a fun relationship to have. Um, and my theory is if you came here to learn from me, then you need to come here open minded enough to learn whatever it is from me. It doesn't mean that you have to take what you learn from me and use it. But while you're here, because you've enlisted my time, while you're here, be open minded enough to see if what I do is of any value to you. Even if you would only incorporate one little tiny thing, like you came with a full quiver of arrows, but you wanted to add one more arrow. I'm not saying that you got to come here and fill your quiver with my arrows. You might just take one of my arrows and add to your quiver. But you got to come and see what my arrows look like. So we had that kind of conversation, and it really was a very well received conversation because, like I said, I sat with it for a little while because sometimes it people who talk to each other when they're in kind of an emotional response, it's not as nice of a conversation. And I know that about me. I know that if I were to have that conversation that day when I was feeling a little bit of that resistance towards, then why did you come? If you didn't come to learn from me, did you come to show me how you do it? Or did you come just to argue with me? Kind of thing. Like, why did you come here then? I could have done something else with my day, kind of thing. But if you wait and you find the right way to phrase it and stay only on topic, right? Because sometimes when you're upset or something bothers you, you'll fall off topic during that conversation. And next thing you know, you're like, especially like if you have a spouse or something, like you'll fall so off topic that by the time the argument is over or the conversation is over, you've attacked them for their underwear left on the floor. You know what I mean? Where it has nothing to do with the subject. So I always make sure that I am very mentally connected to the subject and I don't ever make it anything but that subject. So we had that conversation and I do believe it was very well received. And then I decided, okay, let's go get a horse. Like we started talking about how I do puzzles, and that was something that she doesn't incorporate in her own training program. So it would be something she would be open to just learn, not argue that she can't learn it, right? Or that she doesn't want to learn it because it's different from how she does it. So we decided we're going to go ahead and set up a puzzle. And I chose one of the horses that actually his stall opens into the round pen in my barn because it's so hot we didn't work outside. So I chose one of the horses that actually has his stall within the round pen. And the other horse that's in there is his brother. So for the most part, his brother will lose interest in what's going on. And it won't be like kind of there won't be a whole lot of attention from one horse to the other in that kind of environment. So anyway, chose Dewey. I've never let anyone else play with Dewey yet, mainly because I've kind of taken a little bit of a break from having students. And I really wasn't planning on using my horses in a student environment anymore. Like I'll come to you, I'll work with your horse, but I really wasn't using my horses anymore. So I picked Dewey. Dewey was going to have his first lesson. He was going to teach his first lesson, right? And just side note, he was awesome. He was awesome. Like Dewey wasn't going anywhere anyway, as far as like he wasn't looking for a new home, but he literally just earned his stay, so to speak, right? Like he is, because his mom was going to be my next teacher, and I ended up using her to teach lessons. And then the student that used her in her lessons fell in love with her, and my main goal really was to find a new home. I was supposed to just help these horses, give them a good start, make them some promises, and then find them people who will keep their promises. Keep the promises I made them. And I did. I found somebody who would keep that promise to Daisy, and I was like, maybe I'll just, let Daisy go live with this person. So that's it. That's what we did. So Daisy now lives with somebody else. She lives with a student. So anyway, I know that was a long added story, but sometimes the backstories are important. So Dewey has never been worked with anybody else. He only knows how I do it. He's never even experienced somebody trying to do it differently. He's never experienced anybody trying to do it my way. He's never had anybody else try to communicate to him. So we walked over and he's flat out taking a nap. He's flat out. And then she's like, it's okay, we'll do it a different day. And of course, us talking woke him up, so he got up. And I'm like, no, he's up now. So, while he was wiping sleep out of his eyes, I set up the puzzle. And I just kept making more and more parts to the puzzle. And every part of the puzzle, I knew he could do because he knew all the elements that would be required to do the puzzle. He knew how to go sideways. He knew how to come over sideways. He knew how to go sideways from you in front of him. He knew how to get sent away. He knew how to go when he's told to go. He knew how to stop when he was told to stop. He knew how to go over a tarp. There was nothing about that puzzle he didn't know how to do. So I found myself just building this puzzle. Part of the fun for me is building the puzzle, right? And that's, I think, where a lot of people do struggle when they try to learn how to do puzzles, is the creativity of building a puzzle. That's part of the fun to me. right? I've had plenty of students who like, I don't know, I just stand there for like 20 minutes with two cones in my hands and I just can't seem to figure out how I want to set it up. And that's, so you're not unusual if you can say that that's what happens to you. That's not unusual at all. So you're not alone in the lack of knowing how to build a puzzle. It's okay. I almost should do a course just on how to build puzzles, right? Because it is actually a thing. People do struggle with how to build a puzzle. But anyway, so after I set up the puzzle and I started the tablet, which takes a while to get, on screen. So while it was warming up, I came back and I started telling her, first reminding her that I don't want to spend much time or any time if possible talking about how I'm doing it different than you would do it and blah, blah, blah. And I pointed out, like, forget that you think my horses have cues, right? Specific cues to tell them how to do something, right? The only reason my horses have like word cues, like over, is because I just want them to be able to access their memory faster by giving it a word in the dictionary that they can just access and more quickly find it, instead of showing them with like hand gesture or something that I want them to come with their body sideways towards my hand. But the fact that I have a dictionary is not actually important because I told her, I said, it's the same language. If you're using natural horsemanship, you're using their language in your program, it's the exact same language. It should not matter to my horse that you have access to his dictionary. It should not matter to him. The only thing that should matter to him is that if you want him to move his left shoulder away from you, you know how to put pressure on his left shoulder, both up close and from a distance. And if you're an active person in this horsemanship world, that's however you define it, whatever your dictionary says, it's still the same thing if you're using his language, right? Yielding their shoulders is the same thing under anybody else's dictionary when you get to the mechanics of it. So, I was like, so erase the fact that you might think my horses have cues you need to know and just use what you know as far as how to move a shoulder, how to move a hind end. Don't worry about what you think he knows as far as like the word to use or the hand gesture to use. Just use what you know to cause that movement. And we agreed, right, before she went in. And then I said, so now you have three choices. One, I can take a different horse out of the barn, bring him in the arena, and do the puzzle for you, show you all like how I want, like the whole puzzle, right? And have him do the puzzle so you can just see how the puzzle's done. And keeping, Mr. Dewey, who's still wiping the sleep out of his eyes, keep him fresh, not having seen the puzzle at all. Because when we were sitting in my car talking, I pointed out that sometimes when somebody's struggling with their horse and then I take over and I show it to the horse, sometimes the horse now remembers what it was. So they see the setup and they go, oh, okay, I know kind of what I'm supposed to do there. And they kind of help the person not really need to know how to do it because they're like, it's okay, I know this one, I'll do it. I know this one. So they make somebody look like a star before they really have a chance to truly learn it. And it's a little bit like false confidence that you would get because you didn't actually fully tell the horse how to do it. The horse kind of said, I got this. So I don't generally want to use the horse that I'm going to teach with when demonstrating a puzzle. But it could also lead somebody to think, oh, well, that horse you're going to bring out, knows how to do that kind of stuff. But the horse you're going to put me with doesn't know crap and you're going to make me look bad. So you could be suspicious of why I would choose a different horse. So I offer. So I'll use a horse that you're not going to work with and show you the puzzle and then keep him fresh, or I can bring him out, show him the puzzle, and we can hope that he doesn't just do it for you and make you look like a star. Or you can go in with your dictionary, right? Again, I'm saying it's his language. You don't need to know my dictionary words. You just need to know how to influence a shoulder to make a shoulder do what you want it to do. And that's and that's his language. So it doesn't matter how you say it, right? As long as you say it where it makes sense to the horse. It doesn't matter what words you use. So I gave it all three options. Like, you can go in by yourself and just use your language. You can let me take out a different horse and I'll do the puzzle, and then you can have him stay fresh. Or I can bring him out and kind of give him a general idea of what you're going to ask him to do before you have your hands on him. And he may or may not just tell you he knows how to do it. Don't worry, I got this. But I gave her all three options. So she chose the option of me taking him out and doing it first. Taking Dewey out and doing it first. And even, like, his backup was a little broken, his hoe was a little broken, so there were a couple things that he and I struggled on a little bit. Not much, but enough to make it not a flow, right? Like, I like my puzzles to be a flow. I like to be like, and now go stop on the tarp. Okay, now go do a figure eight over here. Okay, now go over here and back between those two cones and sideways over that last cone, and then go sideways down this pole, and then come sideways over all those cones to me, and we're done. Like, I like that flow, right? I like we don't have to spend any time on one specific obstacle or puzzle piece. We did have to stop on. We had a little trouble. His back was a little broken on one of the puzzle pieces, so I jumped off the mounting block to, tell him, you need to be backing up. Why are you not backing up? So his back was a little broken. I think I got off the mounting block because all of the puzzle was being done from you standing on the mounting block. So you were orchestrating everything around you. You were asking him to do all the different things while standing on the mounting block. So you weren't allowed to go, walk around to each puzzle piece. You had to stand on the mounting block and say, hey, now go to this other puzzle piece. Let me show you what you're supposed to do over there. And you're not supposed to get down off the mounting block. But I got down off the mounting block to help him get stronger backup. And I think I got down off the mounting block when I needed him to either stop on the tarp or go out on half of the figure eight, go out better on half of the figure eight. I don't remember. Twice I got off the mounting block. So at two different puzzle pieces, I got off the mounting block to just help him. And what I like about that lesson was she got to play with him. I got to see how he handles a student, and wonderfully, like he gold star. But I also got to see how a conversation prior to the lesson was impactful. Because the conversation about, I don't want to know that you do this differently. I don't want to know that this isn't how you do it. I want to see you do it. However you do it is fine. I'll help you if you want. And I told her right off the bat, I said, I let students struggle for as long as it doesn't impact my horse. But if you start making my horse struggle, then I'm going to step in because I care about my horse. And I'm like, I'm a very candid person. I'm going to tell you the truth. I only care if my horse is having a hard time. I'm not going to let somebody make my horse struggle for very long, but I'll let you struggle forever because that's how you're going to learn. But you're not teaching my horse anything. You see what I'm saying? And if you're making my horse struggle, then I want to help my horse. So I told her, I'll rescue you, but only when it's finally, showing on my horse. So she knew she was like kind of free to do what she wanted to do. And it went very, very well, and I learned a lot about my horse as a teacher. And back to the part about like what's cool about having a pre-lesson conversation was once she started to say I do things different, but mid-sentence she stopped and then just went back to trying to do it how I was helping her, but I was also letting her do it however she thought she could do it. And they were successful. They were successful in the piece that they did do, right? And then she wanted to help him come off some of adrenaline because he was getting a little upset, but he wasn't getting fire in his feet. He was getting a little tense, because he was like, I don't really understand what you're trying to tell me to do. So he was getting a little tense, and she thought that maybe he knew one of my exercises. I tell them to put their head down, and that helps them come off the adrenaline. And I hadn't taught him that yet, right? It is something I teach all my horses, but I hadn't taught him that, and it's something I would teach your horse if I was working with you. But she's like, well, how would you teach that? So I don't know. I'm going to say probably 8 minutes of a lesson to him, and we had him putting his nose on the ground. And she's like, that's so cool, right? Like he learned it so fast. Well, yes, he did, absolutely. But I kind of expect them all to learn it that fast because I'm very consistent in how I introduce something, and I'm very focused on the result I'm looking for, but I'm also very flexible on how to help them get to that result. So, not only did he learn it very, very well, she was able to use it throughout her session with him after we taught it to him, and that was cool. And then there was one point where she asked him to put his head down, and he only went as low as his knees. So I pointed out, like, hey, be happy with that. He just learned it. Be happy with that effort because that was a genuine effort. That was a knowing that he applied, and he may not have known 100% it means put my nose on the ground, but he knew it meant put my head down to that cue. And she did. She left him alone. And I said, look, it's like the first time you lace up skates, you're not a professional hockey player, right? Like, you have to develop skills. You have to, learn something and then become better at it. So, just be satisfied with how much he gave you because what he gave you was a genuine effort. So, yeah, it was an extremely successful lesson, and I really do think there was a lot of value to sitting beforehand and saying, I understand you have a quiver full of arrows, and you may not need many of mine, but you did come here looking to see if you could put one of mine in your quiver. So come to learn from me, be all in, open-minded, be all in, and you can leave going, that lady's whack, You can leave during your lesson if you want, if you think I'm whack. You know what I mean? But come and see. But don't come and argue for why it's different, why you're not going to do it that way, or why you can't do it that way, or why it's hard to do it that way, or whatever, because it's different from how I do it. Don't come with that argument, because if we can't reach what I just did with this person, if we can't reach that moment of, I'm happy to teach you if you want to learn, but if you don't want to learn, I'm not going to teach you, because I don't need, my thing is at my horse's expense, I don't need a student. You know what I'm saying? I don't need a student that's going to cause me any tension, cause me any change in my energy because I'm frustrated with somebody. I don't need a student that's going to do that because my horse is going to feed off me. When I show you this video of my horse, he doesn't take his eyes off of me. He tracks me in my every movement, right? And I don't ever want my horses to be looking to me and seeing me like my energy is bad because I'm having a hard time with the person that's standing next to them. You see what I'm saying? My horses look to me for guidance. And if they feel that I'm having a hard time with, it's kind of like a herd of horses that sees a coyote coming up on the side of another horse in their herd, and they're like, and the horse that has the coyote next to it's going to feed or feel the tension in the lead horse and be like, what, right? I don't want my horses to ever feel that way. I don't want my horses to ever feed off of me that I'm calling the person next to them a coyote. Okay, have a great day.